welcome to another exciting edition of Plank of the Week. Here we are, based at Talk Radio TV. I've got Dawn Neeson with me as ever, Kevin O'Sullivan as well. We've had a great run. We're already nearly 3 months in to the new year, so it's technically not really a new year anymore. We've got plenty of planks to go at this week. Of course, as we know, we're collecting it as an annual event as well, so Plank of the Year is also going. And at the moment, I can tell you that Harry and Meghan, the BBC, and one or two others are riding very high up there in the charts. But let's kick things off. Dawn, I think it's your turn to start us this week. Well, hey. Why don't you get to go first?
Right, okay, this is completely different. I don't think we've had him before.
Yes.
Orlando Bloom gave an interview at the weekend to the Sunday Times magazine about a day in his life.
Oh, yeah.
Which was lovely. But it was just the most, it was like a spoof. If you're writing a spoof about a Hollywood actor's life, you couldn't make out. First of all, he has to get up and earn his breakfast.
Really?
Right? He can't just get up and have a slice of toast.
Okay.
He has
How
to
does he do
earn his breakfast. So he gets up and he goes for a 10-mile hike through the Hollywood Hills.
All right, how does that make him any money?
But it's not about money,
is it?
It gives him the right to eat. So then, Mike, he gets back and he has brain food porridge.
Brain food porridge? What does
Feeds
that
the brain. No idea, but it's got collagen in it for his hair and nails
mean?
as well.
Sell it? Because
Didn't he have a romp with a waitress over?
I think he did actually.
Yeah, he did. It was the best sex she'd ever had.
Was that the one in the in London?
Yeah, Chiltern Firehouse up in London.
Are you sure that was him?
Yes.
I think it was him.
Yeah, it was him, yeah.
Yeah, she went and took him some breakfast, and then she didn't come out till the next morning.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, as you do.
Well,
room service, certainly.
Any
case, so after breakfast, then he does some eye gazing with his baby daughter.
Best to gaze with your eyes, I found.
Exactly, these are his words.
I tried nose gazing for a while, it didn't work too well.
Not making this up. And then he spends the day dreaming of roles for minorities and women.
Rolls?
Rolls.
He not bacon rolls?
No, not bacon rolls in hotel rooms.
Rolls.
Yeah,
no.
absolutely.
Right, back to breakfast.
Yeah. And then he dresses...
Has he actually got a job, this bloke?
No.
That's the point, yeah. What emerges from it, this guy's got nothing to do.
It's got nothing to do. But the most important thing is he dresses for dinner.
Does he?
Which is prepared by a team.
Shame he doesn't dress for the old paddleboard.
No, that's actually double Scott. You need to see that picture unpixelated. It's very interesting. Yeah. And then he plays with Lego. And
Lego.
That's it. That's a day in the life of a Hollywood A-lister. Even his wife says it's only the second best lover she's ever had.
Dear God. Who's he married to?
Well, it's not wife, Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry?
Yeah.
Well, the woman who used to go out
with... They've got a baby.
The woman who used to go out with Russell Brand.
Yeah, she married Russell Brand.
Does that mean that she's saying Russell Brand was her best lover?
No. John Mayer was the best one, evidently. She's had a few.
Bad news for Russell then. He's at least 3.
Yeah. So, in any case, for actually coming up with a day that really you file under the what the hell, every single thing he does, I think that makes him a fairly good plank.
Yeah, I think that's a very good nomination. Because you would think, I remember a day in the life, funnily enough, when I first started out doing stuff for Fleet Street when I was very young. One of the things I did was I worked with this photographer guy in the West Country, and we went and did somebody a day in the life. But it was like an ordinary person. They've now changed it to they only do celebrities. Yeah. Because this was more like we went and did some guy who was, I think he was a thatch cottage fixer, one of those guys that does thatch cottages.
They sometimes
quite
still
interesting.
do those.
Quite interesting, right?
And they were always more interesting.
And his day was about, thatching somebody's roof or, driving to a funny part of the country to buy something for the thatching or something like that.
Well, I mean,
it's so banal, isn't it?
It's just
it's banal.
He takes it seriously. I think he actually thinks this is not funny. I think he thinks this is just really, and everyone else is going, really? Yeah. And also, of course, there's another
embarrassing, isn't it?
He's a complete eco-warrior that goes on holiday on multi-million-pound yachts.
Of course he does. Yeah.
He says, I have vegetarian porridge and no. He said, I'm meat free. I have meat about once a month. I'm 90% total plant.
Because he looks at cows.
90% plank. 90% plank.
Vegetable.
Yeah, because he looks
100% plank.
He looks at cows and thinks how beautiful they are.
Well, they are beautiful.
And then he eats them.
He eats them.
So, pheasants are beautiful too.
But he's like claiming to be sort of almost
vegan. 100%
except
nearly.
Once a month he has a meat.
What an absolute plank. That is ridiculous, isn't it?
But he's got a very nice paddleboard.
I'm sure he has. Well, that's a very good nomination. Nice to get a few Hollywood celebs in. I should say, by the way, before we go any further, that we have taken the view once again on Harry and Meghan that we won't nominate them individually. But I think they still have to stay in as the carryover. And I'll tell you why, and you might wish to add in anything that you can think of. But this week, what they've done is they've been the subject of an attack from Prince William, interestingly enough.
Yes.
They've also been revealed to have lied about the 3-day before wedding because the Sun managed to get hold of their actual wedding certificate, which showed that they didn't get married 3 days before the actual wedding. It was a rehearsal, which is what everybody calls it, right? But she thought it was a wedding. Also, finally, today we learned that they've lost yet another employee. The woman who was the head of Archie Well has disappeared, and they've put somebody else in the spot. So that's yet another high-powered woman that they don't seem to be able to hang on to.
Yeah, I'm sure she's lovely to work for, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to work for her.
Absolutely, yeah. Kevin, who's your first nomination?
It is the Chief Constable of Bristol and Somerset, Andy Marsh.
Oh, yeah, he's had a great week.
About a year ago, almost encouraged his officers to take the knee as demonstrators pulled down that statue of Edward Colston, the well-known...
William Colston, wasn't it?
William Colston, the well-known old-school slave trader from Bristol from 300 years ago. So they pulled down that statue. His officers, his actual officers, took the knee to the Black Lives Matter demonstrators.
Well, I remember them watching them doing it as well. And as they dragged it to the harbour and chucked it in.
So in other words, this is the Chief Constable that stood by and basically encouraged his officers to encourage law breaking. Just say it's fine as long as there's a connection to the slave trade. Well, Andy, you reap what you sow. And what happened on Sunday night in Bristol was, in my view, as a direct result from your ridiculous suggestion that it's okay for demonstrators to destroy public property. So you can't 1 year ago get your officers to bow down and kneel to the demonstrators who are destroying public property and then moan when they come back a year later and set fire to all your police cars and attack your officers because you've set the trend in motion. So it's Andy Marsh, because he is classic of these chief constables who are now, so many of them are nothing more than the military wing of the wokerati, the lefties, you know. So it is time for people like Andy Marsh to get a grip and stop allowing demonstrators to destroy public property, because if you do that, in the end they'll come and they'll do kill the bill demonstrations and attack you.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting is the mayor of Bristol, who's also incredibly left-wing, because Bristol is one of these cities, right, which is apparently going to outlaw all diesel vehicles by this end of this year, supposedly, which is a bit of an unfortunate state of affairs, given that they've just bought a whole load of diesel vehicles for the council. They didn't think about that before they did that. But he's very, very woke, this guy, and he was very much in favour of the statue being torn down. So much so that he also said at one point, I think, that he used to be offended every time he walked past it. And people are going, right, okay.
Rubbish.
But do you know what he also said? Today they're looking for 500 of these extremist thugs, anarchists, you know, anti-globalists, whatever you want to call them, mask-wearing idiots. And he's claiming that these are people that have come from outside Bristol to cause trouble. Really? How is it then that the two of the biggest things that have happened that have been anti-police and have been anti sort of, you know, any sort of government and regulations have been in Bristol? How has that been the case?
Yeah, and when they pulled down the William Colston statue, they're all from Bristol, were they? I doubt it. I very much doubt it. This guy, Andy Marsh, what happened on Sunday night is arguably his fault. What the police should have in terms of committing crimes, and I include in that the destruction of public property, the vandalism of pulling down statues, what they should have in all circumstances, because this is what it means to be a copper, is a zero tolerance policy when it comes to breaking the law. And you certainly do not get your officers to get on their knees and bow and scrape and you know, take the knee to these demonstrators who are destroying public property. It's your fault, Marsh.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
They had a zero tolerance attitude on Clapham Common when there's a group of women standing around crying, holding candles, if I remember rightly.
They did so, but I mean, of course, everybody gives a different version of events, but what there can be no doubt about is that these people who were attacking the police station were not previously peaceful demonstrators who had been somehow driven insane by the
thugs.
You know, the hard right police officers who had been hitting them with truncheons. That wasn't the case. Now, you might wonder why the police in this country are in such a bad state. I can give you a clue about that. It's not just because the police chiefs are not very smart. The policing minister, right, is a bloke by the name of Kit Malthouse, which, apart from having the worst name in the government, because it's such a ridiculous
That's a lot of
name.
competition.
Yeah, I mean, DIY Kit Malthouse would be a better name. He was into visiting the Home Office, which is obviously where he works, where he has an office. Now, as a result of having to do that, he was decided it would be a good idea to take a COVID test to make sure that as he went into the office, he wasn't going to, bring any COVID in, because obviously quite a few civil servants working there. Don't want to have to send them all home to self-isolate, right? Now, he took his test on his way home from work on Monday, but then he went into the Home Office without waiting to get the result of the test, right?
What's the point?
And of course, guess what happened when he did get the result of the test? It turned out to be positive.
Part of the government's well-known policy of test and then forget all about it.
Test
and then ignore it.
Provided you're in government.
Test and don't trace. Just test.
Take the test, don't worry about it. Carry on.
Well, it's the taking part that's important. Don't worry about the result, right? But this is the same bloke, right, that said just a few weeks earlier, it's impossible that nobody knows what to do when it comes to the coronavirus rules and regulations.
Ouch.
Only an idiot would not know how to proceed. It seems to me there's an awful lot of people in Westminster who don't know what they're doing.
Well, that's
Keir
idiots.
Keir Starmer has now been self-isolated, I think, 3 times separately because he keeps running into people with COVID. Boris Johnson...
twice, isn't it?
Twice had to self-isolate 14 days, even though he's already had it, there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, these people are complete morons, it seems to me.
The point is, though, I quite like them to carry on self-isolating, just like for a long time.
Here's the result of old Kit's trip through the Home Office, because apparently he managed to find as many people as possible to mix with, right? He had to... The 2 separate teams of people, which I think counts about 14, had to self-isolate. His office has had to be deep cleaned, right? And air vents have had to be changed. So, I mean, while it is funny, this is costing us a fortune.
It's taxpayers' money. At the end of the day, on the serious note, it is taxpayers' money.
I mean, what a complete and utter idiot. Now, this comes on top of Robert Jenrick, right, who was quizzed over a visit he made to his parents' home, and, of course, Margaret Ferrier, the former SNP MP, who had COVID, tested positive, and decided it'd be a great idea to not only go to the House of Commons, but to also go to a gym and get on a train to Scotland.
And sit on a train for
these are the same people who tell us week in, week out, well, everybody knows you should obey the COVID rules. Really? Kit Malthouse, you are a massive plank. You're number 2.
I totally agree, absolutely. It's going to be difficult to beat that one as well, but I am actually going to head sort of back down to Bristol.
Oh, yeah.
If that's okay, because it was pretty...
Bristol, as they call it
Bristol.
locally.
But this is the Labour MP, Nadia Whittome, who is from Nottingham East. She is the youngest MP in Parliament. She's 24 years old.
Oh, is she?
So I'm just excusing the fact she might be a little bit naive.
Yeah.
Any case, she was quizzed on the violence, mindless thuggery of what happened in Bristol, and she refused to condemn it. When she was asked, surely you have to condemn what happened, she goes, well, I'm wishing everyone who's been hurt a speedy recovery, but I'm not going to condemn protesters until we know what exactly happened. Love, what exactly happened was a group of violent thugs tried to set van to a police van with men and women sitting inside it. That is attempted murder.
I mean, I don't care how provoking you think the police are. You don't try and kill them in a van. I've got mitigating circumstances because one of them told me to move on, so I decided to set fire to him. I mean, really?
But the irony of that demonstration was that what they were officially demonstrating against was the suppression of their right to peacefully protest. Yeah, well, you're just demonstrating exactly why you shouldn't be allowed to peacefully protest, because you're clearly incapable of doing it peacefully.
I know.
Well, she didn't want to see any violence against anybody.
Yes.
But,
this is where Labour fall down, because before that protest actually happened, and I accept that for a large portion of the day in Bristol it was peaceful, but an awful lot of Labour MPs were shouting "kill the bill" in various different parts of the country, and I know that that's about the bill.
Is it about the bill, or because you can interpret it 2 ways, can't you? You're not going to say that people aren't thinking that as well.
No, of course you're not going to tell me that they haven't done it that way deliberately, because it sounds like you're also killing the cops, But also, Momentum were encouraging the protest. People on the left have been very much behind not voting. No Labour MP voted for the bill, right? And also, Keir Starmer, up until I haven't checked today, but up until pretty late yesterday, had not tweeted about Bristol at all. Hadn't bothered.
Yeah, but that's
hindsight.
That's Keir Starmer's approach to life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Never say or do anything about anything.
Right.
Just sort of sit there quietly.
In case,
sit on the fence until Boris does something and then go, I would have done that, but bigger and better.
Yeah, I thought
What a
that.
joke,
I
though.
thought of that already.
What a joke, though, that Boris Johnson puts before, or the government, if you like, puts before Parliament this extension of their unnecessary COVID powers. And there is a fear amongst the Cabinet that there could be a really significant rebellion on the part of backbench Tory MPs, but they don't care about that. They don't have to worry about that because Labour will 100% support them. I mean, what does Starmer think he's doing? What a weird idea of opposition, to agree and support everything the government does. It's weird.
It really is.
You know, the weird thing is, I think we would have actually been better off if Labour had been in power and the Conservatives in opposition, because then the Conservatives would at least be going, yeah, absolutely, you're dictating.
I can see your point.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of pleased that's not the case, though,
No, I'm
honest.
sort of pleased it's not the case, but I mean, they would at least be in opposition and say, no, you can't lock people up, people have their rights. So they might have actually...
But you're forgetting one crucial aspect of your argument here. If that was the case, right, it wouldn't have been Starmer in charge, it would have been Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, God, yeah, no, there is that.
I think Starmer would be bad.
Yeah, no, that's true.
God, he's useless, isn't he, Starmer?
He really
Absolutely useless.
He is absolutely hopeless. In fact, it's time for him to self-isolate again. I reckon this week he'll probably get nobble himself, and he'll have to go back to his palatial mansion.
Harry and Meghan. He's like Harry and Meghan. We should tell the viewers that Keir is always sort of there in principle in the planks of the week.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he figured very high in plank of the year. He's up there in the top 10, I think. He's almost bound to be there again.
To be a contender there.
Right. So your second nominee.
It is. Forgotten who it is now.
Maybe you should have notes.
It's
notes?
Can I borrow them? Oh no, there's 4,000 pages of it. Right, okay. It is James Hamilton, the QC, that was specifically hired by Nicola Sturgeon to investigate allegations that she broke the ministerial code by getting involved in besmirching Alex Salmond's name and misleading the Scottish Parliament. James Hamilton seems to be the only person in the country who, having looked at the situation in Scotland, has concluded that there's absolutely no reason at all to doubt Nicola Sturgeon in this.
Although actually that's not strictly true though, because he was actually, I would say, even though you're right to say that he's kind of in quotes,
he's exonerated her.
But he hasn't quite exonerated her, because what he has said is that some of her information and her statements were incomplete. And he has also said that it's really down to the government and the Parliament to work out whether or not she broke the ministerial code and lied to the Scottish Parliament. Now, she's been judged.
He actually said that she didn't break the ministerial code. So what you're saying, that's a great... So why did he say that if he's saying what you're saying?
But my point is that he's kind of trying to say that, he doesn't think she did, but other people might.
The Scottish Parliament still officially says that the First Minister misled Parliament and broke the ministerial code. That's what the Parliament says. She brings in this bloke, James Hamilton, and guess what? He's concluded exactly what she wanted him to conclude. She's the one who hired him.
Well,
she gets the result she wanted.
Yeah, if you remember last week, it was leaked out from the...
Three-card trick.
It was leaked out from the Parliamentary Committee that she had been found to have to have misled Parliament. She then said, well, let's wait and see what the real report says rather than talking about leaks. That will come out on Tuesday, as it did today. But she also said, there's a separate investigation going on as to whether or not I broke the ministerial code, because apparently if you only mislead Parliament by mistake, that doesn't break the ministerial code. And I was saying to someone earlier, it's only in this business of politics that you can get away with that. I mean, can you imagine saying to the police when they pull you over for doing 95 miles an hour
once
down
they've got
the
off
M1,
their knees, and
you go, well, I didn't know I was doing 95, and they go, oh, that's fine then. If you didn't know,
stupidity.
Look, if you didn't know you were doing 95, then obviously you haven't committed an offence.
I'll give her this.
In no other field.
Ignorance of the law is no defence in anything.
But you've got to give Nicola Sturgeon. You've got to give her this. I mean, this was a skillful piece of politics.
There's going to be a vote of no confidence in her this afternoon.
Yes.
By the time you see this, it'll probably have fallen down.
She will get away with it. I mean,
because the Green Party are in cahoots, as we say in Scotland, with the SNP, and you can't get anything through. It's a bit like trying to get something passed against Boris Johnson. You wouldn't get it done. But it is pretty remarkable, I think, that that you can be described as having misled Parliament by not telling them the truth, which is effectively what it is, and yet face no punishment.
And then along comes the QC and says, no, that doesn't break the ministerial code. Well, what does that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and as you said, Kev, she's not a stupid woman.
No, she's a skillful bit of politician.
She's a solicitor.
Skillful politician.
She is a solicitor, but it's a bit like when you put lawyers into these roles, right? They become lawyers eventually. I mean, Bill Clinton was trained as a lawyer. And his most, I think, finest hour of twisting of the English language was when they asked him about why he lied about having sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, that woman. And he said, well, at the time, I didn't think I was lying. Yeah. And you go, what? Yeah. What? Yeah. Oh, right, okay. So when you were asked by your wife whether you'd been out having sex with someone and you said no, but that was a lie, you didn't think it was a lie. You thought it was the truth at the time. I mean, that was classically brilliant from a lawyer. Yeah.
Complete and
utter twisting of the truth. Yeah. It's just extraordinary.
So she's got away with it. And
I mean, you know what a lot of other people say, though, who are critical of what we say about Nicola Sturgeon, and we should give them a bit of a voice. They say, well, what about Priti Patel? Wasn't she found guilty of breaking the ministerial code by bullying somebody? And you go, well, not really, because it wasn't, I mean, the fact that they paid out to that civil servant, which I really wish they hadn't done, because that's also our money. Right? Because there was never a case, the evidence was never heard. Right? We don't really know whether it's money to shut him up or whether it's money that would have had to be paid out. And therefore we don't really know whether she's admitted to breaking the ministerial code in any meaningful way. Doesn't mean anything.
But I do think, I would return to James Hamilton, who seems to be the only person in the country that has looked at Nicola Sturgeon's behaviour over the Alex Salmond affair and concluded that she's done absolutely nothing wrong. That's extraordinary.
To be fair, there was one other man. Her husband.
Well, no, not true. He said, I remember that meeting. At one point, I suspect
he didn't know what it was about, though.
In the marital home were not good.
He remembered the meeting.
He doubts it as well.
He remembered the meeting after somebody told him about it.
Yes, exactly.
He didn't remember it until
but he has contradicted his wife's story as well. So even the husband
he's been accused of lying to the committee.
Yeah,
but he's fine as well. He's still in charge of the SNP. It's all very weird. Anyway, I think Hamilton's a good addition. So Sturgeon stays off the list this week then.
Well, yeah, but by association, she's sort of there in spirit.
But she's sort of going to be always there, isn't she?
She's got to lead the country through the pandemic badly.
Right, I'm going to go back to one of our old European allies for my second nomination. It is my Lord Andrew Adonis.
I love him.
A man who, I have to say, I don't really wish to say that I've got a kind of a slightly reluctant admiration for him, but he is incredibly single-minded and completely and utterly able to take all sorts of slings and arrows that are fired at him.
Nice chap, I think.
Well, I think he's a bit odd, actually. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but, you know, he's a bit strange. He turned up once when I was in Westminster in the tent wearing European Union socks, right? He was wearing blue socks.
Oh, stop.
I mean, to be honest, if he had been wearing nothing else, I'd just still been looking at the socks. They were like blue with the yellow star on.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
I mean, he probably had boxer shorts. He is a fanatic, right?
Yeah.
He actually put a tweet out earlier this week where he had a picture of the flag, the EU flag. I love this flag, was the tweet. That was his tweet.
Great.
And he goes on shows, right?
Flags have been a thing. To be fair to him.
We'll get to that in my next nomination. But you know, he's kind of almost mesmerically obsessed.
Yeah, I know he is.
With the whole thing. But my favourite tweet of his, and this is why I put him down as Plank of the Week. He sent this one out. I think it was on Sunday or Saturday. It is becoming clearer and clearer that it's only a matter of time before Brexit is reversed.
Yeah, well, I think the vaccine rollout has sealed it.
Well, I mean, that's really,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even
we can't wait to rejoin.
But I mean, he sent this out at 9:25. I don't even know whether he drinks.
In the morning?
Yeah, so he clearly wasn't.
What was he having for breakfast?
Maybe he was
having
doing
some
an
Orlando
grain porridge.
Had he earned his breakfast?
He probably had earned it. But I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it? Because there is absolutely no evidence that Brexit will be reversed. There is no suggestion that if they had a second referendum now, it would actually be more people.
Be a landslide who want to leave.
Vaccines.
Like 90% of people want to leave. But he's completely deluded. And yet, he sits in the House of Lords, another one that's taking money on the public purse. What's he for?
Yeah, he did take part in one election for the Euro elections, and he lost. No one loses those elections.
But nobody loses under proportional representation. Everybody gets in. He didn't manage to.
The only election he ever tried, it was a disaster.
He lost in Cornwall or somewhere like that. It was absolutely incredible. But I mean, he's been on it a few times before, but now he's so irrelevant that it's even more ridiculous.
What is the thought process? It was a Saturday morning.
Saturday morning.
You get up on a Saturday morning and you put that out as a tweet. What are you thinking, reading, eating, drinking? I don't understand.
I know. Well, maybe it's true, because remember when we used to talk about Brexit all the time, that the people who want to remain in the EU only know people who want to remain in the EU.
That's true.
I remember Rod Liddell saying to me once, his wife, on the day after the referendum, and it was clear that Leave had won, his wife went to take her kid to school, and they live in some nice sort of heartland of, the home counties.
Of course,
Kent,
Kent, yeah. And
that's not then, is it? Really?
Well, it depends which bit, I suppose. Well, you don't have to say where he lives. I mean, you don't have to put that out. You can give his address.
And the address and mobile is.
Here's the car they drive. Anyway, so he said, she came back from dropping the kid at school, and she said, nobody can understand it. At school gates, all the mums are going, but we don't know anybody that voted for Brexit. And of course they didn't.
No,
because they're all middle class, champagne socialist types. And they've never met anyone who has a different view of the world. And he's clearly like that, except he has met people who've got a different view of the world, because he's always arguing on the radio. I find it astonishing.
Yeah, it's a fixation. I mean, a lot of those people, it's the Dominic Greaves syndrome, isn't it? The AC Grayling syndrome. These people were literally turned insane by the Brexit debate. They couldn't believe, they were so used to always getting their way, the kind of left-leaning liberal establishment. We can manipulate
and many of them
the
are
population.
very well off, by the way.
They'll do what we're told.
Yeah.
But they are,
when we didn't, they unravelled, and they've all gone insane, and they've all ruined their lives.
Well, look at that guy, Philip Pullman, the bloke from My Dark Materials, right? He put out a tweet the other day saying, this country is just getting worse and worse. I can't stand it.
Yeah, with your plays.
Really? Well, if you hate it that much, you've got enough money to go and buy a private island in the South Seas. You could go and buy a private island in the Caribbean, or you could probably go and buy a nice chateau in the south of France with all the money you've made from the British people who have supported not only your books, but your bleeding BBC TV series.
It's just the
What's wrong with you?
It's just the condescending, patronising attitude they have to people that don't agree with them.
Yeah.
You're all thick, you're all racist, you don't deserve to even have a vote on anything ever again.
Do you know there are people who
hate
actually
that.
believe that you should only be allowed to have a vote if you've passed some kind of intelligence test, or you can prove...
That's me out.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out.
Yeah.
But no, there's a name for it, I can't remember what it is, but there's a name for these people, and they are so smug and so kind of self-righteous.
Smug gits?
Smug gits, but what I think has annoyed them more than anything, and you've touched on this, but I think it's this specifically, they cannot believe that people that they regard as inferior to them have won.
Yeah.
That's what they can't stand.
Power of the people. It's
no,
the
but
same
they
as
can't
Trump.
stand it. No, but they think, because they think they're so much cleverer than everybody else, they can't stand it.
Yeah.
They see it as the bloke that brings the food deliveries and the Amazon trucks.
Yeah.
They see it as them running their life.
It's because,
and they can't handle it.
Because Cameron was the inheritor of the Blair years. Blair and his mob did very, very successfully manipulate the population to do exactly what they want. Everything they ever wanted, they got.
Yeah.
They kept winning elections. They kept getting everything that they wanted through Parliament, and therefore the people had to go along for the ride. Cameron inherited that ethos, and he thought he could get away with it as well. Come the Brexit referendum, he discovered that actually there's a breaking point for the people, and just as in America, it happened here, we have turned around, or the people of Britain have turned around to these people who think they're born to rule and said, no, you're not going to do this to us. And people like Adonis and AC Grayling, Dominic Greaves, they cannot take it that the people have the power and they no longer have it.
I know. It is unbelievable. So, we need your third nominee, Dawn.
Third nominee, right, okay. I'm going to, talking of being thick, I'm going to nominate university.
Very good.
Because I never went to one, obviously.
Yes.
Big surprise.
He's being very rude lately.
Terribly rude, isn't he? I think I might nominate Kevin next week.
Since he's got this breakfast show, right, he's starting to get a bit more aggressive. A bit more aggressive, you know.
It's because I don't get enough sleep.
That's what it is. Exactly right.
Right, okay, any case, this is going to be the University of Loughborough.
Yes.
Which I had to look up how to pronounce, obviously.
Well, do you know,
it's like
Loughborough is a place that I've never been to. But do you know what I've always known about Loughborough is that it used to be known for a sporting university.
It was. It was just where all the athletes
Yeah, it was
were.
where all the. If
it
you
was.
wanted to be an Olympic
I think it's
champion,
still like that, isn't it?
It is. It's got
I
a very,
would think so.
it's a very good sporting science degree.
Yes.
Any case, this chap's nothing to do with that.
Good.
This is a Dr. Binoy Sobnak, who
Binoy.
Binoy Sobnak.
Binoy Sodnak. Okay.
Guess his name, who was a university lecturer there, and he has recently just won an unfair dismissal claim because he was sacked because he used excessive punctuation.
Excessive.
Excessive
What
punctuation.
do you mean?
does
That's
that
enough
mean?
commas.
He actually, was unfairly
What,
sacked
incorrectly or correctly?
for using too many question marks. You know, like when you do sort of like, ask a question like,
Yeah.
Kevin, do you like golf?
Yeah.
Question mark, question mark, question
Oh, well,
mark.
if you put a load of question marks, I thoroughly approve of him getting sacked.
That's aggressive.
I hate that.
Aggressive punctuation.
Well, do you know, there are people who say they don't like more than one exclamation mark, because Donald Trump used to do it all the time
Yeah.
on his Twitter account.
But
and
it's
it drives some people
It's not
insane.
grammatically correct.
Seriously.
Well, I think you
It's
can
a
use as many.
punctuation howler.
Surely you can use as
Who
many
cares?
exclamation marks
Seriously, if
as you
you're
want.
triggered by an extra exclamation mark, what sort of person are
Yeah,
you?
that's true.
Well,
I mean,
Also,
know.
you use more than one exclamation mark. This has turned into another South Bank show.
I'd never go
you
out
use
with a
more than
woman
one
if she-
exclamation mark. You do it for emphasis, right? So if you put three, it's more than one, isn't it? It means more. It means
but it's
more important.
incorrect grammatically.
Oh, I'm
get
sorry.
over yourself.
I didn't realise this was an episode of Mastermind.
Well, it is, isn't
And
it?
it's like,
I'd never go out with a woman who couldn't do punctuation.
Really?
properly. No.
Right. Okay.
Oh no!
Dear.
Blimey, my
Thanks.
chances are blown.
That's it. You'll have
So
to
I think
stay.
this guy, I'm all for the sacking of this guy.
He actually, the judge ruled in his favour, and he was unfairly sacked. But one of the
Exclamation mark.
exclamation mark.
He was unfairly sacked.
One of the emails.
He's definitely not getting enough sleep. He's
One
definitely
of
not
the
getting enough sleep.
emails he sent to a colleague said, "Why don't you listen?" Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Question mark! Question mark! And
He's so right that he was fired.
got offended.
Why is he even sending that? What's wrong with him?
It doesn't matter.
It's Loughborough. There's nothing else to do.
People are now shouting at question marks and exclamation marks
Have you
and
been to Loughborough?
colons and
Question mark.
semicolons, and it's wrong.
Question mark,
Punctuation is not scary.
No.
It's not threatening.
What about semicolons? How are they with those?
Oh, they're a bit iffy.
Are they?
I've never
I never
trusted
used those
semicolons.
500 times.
I don't use semicolons much, but then I don't really send many messages to people that involve punctuation. Do you?
Well, most people don't now because you text people.
Yeah.
A lot you don't
I use
really need.
emojis a lot more than question
me
marks.
too, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
What's your favourite emoji? What's one you use the most?
probably the winking one.
Yeah, me too.
Or
I
the
like the winking
sunglasses
one.
one. I
Yeah.
quite like. I quite
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah, I like the crying with laughter one. Kev, what's yours?
Well, the one I use the most is just that thumbs up one. I
Do
don't
you?
say I particularly like it.
Yeah.
It's just the one. I don't really like it much.
Would you ever consider doing 2 thumbs up?
No, I do 3 as a rule.
3.
So, second offence.
There you go. That's
Second offence.
overuse of emojis. I'll put it to you, Your Honour.
I'd find that really
I'll
offensive.
put it to
actually.
you, Your Honour.
I would find that threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
funny though, isn't it, how
Passive
people get
aggressive.
triggered? But there must be more to it. He must have been having a row with this guy, or they didn't end up fighting in the
Different people
quadrangle.
complain. There are people that work in a university, Mike, and we know what they're like. They get upset at the least little thing.
Jesus
So
Christ.
Like
did he
some
win
people.
any? Did he win any money?
Yes, he did. Exclamation mark!
For
Exclamation
his
mark! He
for his
won
punctuation
£15,000.
based dismissal.
Full stop.
Full stop. Full stop. Full stop. Dot dot dot.
What about dot, dot, dot?
dot, dot.
People give me, I sometimes
Ellipsis.
do that.
Ellipsis. If there's
Now,
3
I
of them,
sometimes do that, right? And people have a real go at me if it's more than 3.
It has to be 3.
Why?
Yeah, because that's ellipsis.
Well, why can't it be 5?
Well, because that's not an ellipsis.
Even Colleen
Well,
Rooney
an
knows
ellipsis is
that.
3.
Well,
It's
what
3
if I want it
dots.
to be 2 ellipses? Then it's 6.
That's not an ellipsis.
What's a 2 ellipses?
No, it has to be 3
It
dots.
has to be 3.
Why?
Because that's punctuation.
No, I don't agree.
Well, no, it's a. It's a rule.
Yeah, well, rules get broken all
Rules
the
are
time.
made to be broken,
I'm sorry.
Kev.
I didn't realise that you were the grammar police.
I am the grammar police. I've always been the
I'm all
grammar
for correcting
police.
people's spelling. I will always correct people on Twitter if they spell "you're" wrong.
Oh
right?
God, that's really annoying.
Or where.
That's punctuation, basically.
Well, I
That's grammar.
sometimes give people the benefit of the doubt because sometimes it means that they've just had it auto-corrected the wrong way. So usually to
with
add...
me, it depends on whether they agree with me or not. Yeah. If they agree with me, I let them off.
To add a little bit of extra sort of interest, I sometimes put a couple of extra exclamation marks on the end.
I'm going
fired.
Every
Get out.
P45.
P45.
So is this the University of Loughborough you're nominated?
Yeah. We got there in the end.
Absolutely brilliant.
Exclamation
Can we get
mark.
a plank of the week exclamation mark? So that, everybody knows what we're doing.
That is funny.
That is great. Right, so your third one, Kevin.
It is Jed Mercurio, the writer of Line of Duty, a series which I think for 3 years has been busy falling off a cliff. It wasn't very good 3 years ago. It certainly was pretty bad last year and the year before. We've arrived at Series 6 with the whole nation frothing with excitement, primed to love this first episode.
I did watch it, I have to say.
And it was utter rubbish. I'm just going to give you a little bit of the dazzling dialogue from Jed. Here we go. It is, Intel has graded the Info 1A on the Matrix. 5-3. Mike India 2-0 State 5 snapped another. The super conflab Intel Surveillance Authority. It is absolute nonsense.
Gobbledygook.
What?
So what you've got, Jed Mercurio, the whole idea of Line of Duty, which, as I say, I think for 2 or 3 series was excellent.
It's been pretty successful.
Excellent. But the last couple of series weren't very good. This one is shaping up to be abysmal. And it's written by Jed Mercurio, who basically wants us to believe that all coppers are corrupt and, of course, that they are jargon-spouting morons. That's what this is all about. It is about the denigration of the police force by a lefty dramatist. The point is, he's very good. He has been very good at writing Line of Duty, but it has now fallen off a cliff. Sunday night's episode was absolute dross.
But
it's
is
a cop
this not the
drama
problem?
that is not much cop.
But is this not the problem, though, with the BBC in particular, but also generally television, where they find somebody and they decide that everything they do is brilliant.
Yeah.
And everything they do from that point on has to be brilliant.
Yeah.
And they
lose
lose the ability to go, do you know what, Jed? Actually, this isn't very good. Can you make it a bit more like the first one?
I've got some good info for Jed as well.
Yeah.
It is possible in today's police force for men to achieve senior ranks and senior positions.
Well, your guy in Bristol.
In Line of Duty, all the senior officers, all the superintendents, they're all like 3 foot tall women with little voices.
Yes.
The men aren't getting anywhere.
I mean, there is a bit of that going on.
And Kelly MacDonald, who's the new police chief, I mean, she's a great actress, but she is sorely miscast.
Is she new from the last show?
No, she's in from nowhere this series.
Because I watched
she's
it.
badly miscast.
Yeah.
She's absolutely implausible and unconvincing as a copper.
Vicky McClure's good in it. She
I like her. She's good.
She's good. Yeah,
I have to say,
I watched it.
Kevin, being a TV critic for many years, knows more about all this stuff than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it partly because I suppose I quite liked the previous series, but I did find it a bit confusing, and I did find it a bit kind of,
I'm just not even going to bother.
There's a scene in it where the coppers are all going down to arrest someone else, and Kelly MacDonald sees out of the corner of her brilliant eye a van parked down a side street, not parked very well. Stop! This is obviously an armed robbery. And guess what? It was.
It was an armed
just
robbery.
Because a van wasn't parked very well. This is ludicrous.
Well, she's obviously got a nose for crime.
It's a woman's intuition.
Vicky McClure's character a couple of series ago, to conclude a dramatic, not a bad series, it was concluded when she suddenly lay down with a rifle and shot someone from a range of about 1.5 miles. We had no idea that she could shoot before.
No.
An ordinary sergeant in the police force is a marksman from a mile
as my
and a
father
half.
used to say, though, you are supposed to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, you're not that much.
It's
mate.
drama. It's not real
called
life.
drama.
It's like the Crown, isn't it? I mean,
It
it's
is.
not real.
Well, I mean, the Crown is slightly
It's not
different.
like The Crown.
The
The
Crown
Crown's
is
like-
history. This is made up.
It's
This is completely
history with
made
a
up.
spin. It's not.
Yeah,
No,
but the Crown is
I'm actually
Yeah.
I feel differently about that, because I believe if you're doing a docudrama, which is what the Crown is, about real life events, you can't just start making stuff up and going, well, you can't believe that bit, but you can believe this bit because this bit didn't happen.
Well, no, Meghan doesn't seem to be doing a bad job.
Well, I mean, she's rewriting history as we speak. She'll probably put out a new The Crown, new Redux or whatever they call it.
Crown, the Meghan version.
Yeah, the Meghan
years.
The Meghan years.
It'll be my
I'll tell you
crown.
what,
That'll be my crown.
They make a
My
series that
truth.
she's in, she'll sue.
They'll probably pay a bucket load.
She'll sue. She sues everyone.
Won't they pay a bucket loads to be in the next series?
Yeah, probably.
They'll play themselves.
Well, they'll give her an audition, but to actually pass it, she's a lousy actor.
Yeah, and they'll get Orlando Bloom to play Harry, won't they, I think?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I can see all that happening. But what else has Mercurio done? Because he does seem to have this kind of...
The name rings a bell.
He has this sort of status of an untouchable genius. You know, you think he was Albert Einstein, the way people talk about
He
him.
came along and proved himself to be...
But what else has he done?
I'm trying to think.
Did he not do Bodyguard as well? Do you remember that one?
No, I don't think
I'm sure he
that.
did. You know that one where the woman
Bodyguard
fell in love with the
Keely
Scottish... Keely Hawes falls in love with the Scottish bodyguard.
I think maybe you're right.
She gets blown up. I think he wrote that.
Yeah.
But that was what the big fuss was about.
That was okay. It was
But it was also slightly kind of...
It was a bit implausible.
A bit implausible, yeah.
Where a minister of the realm starts having sex with a cop, with a protection cop.
Yeah. Also, most ministers of the realm don't look like Keely Hawes, do they?
Oh, she's lovely. I love Keely Hawes. You watch her in anything.
But I mean, that was quite a good show. And I think the other thing you have to think about is that there's not a lot out there. I mean, if you're an ordinary individual looking for something to watch on television on a Sunday night, you know, what else are you going to look at?
Unforgotten.
Unforgotten?
Oh, it's brilliant.
It's on a Monday night.
Is it?
Yeah, don't care what night it's on, it's brilliant.
Is there a new one?
Yeah.
Is there a new one? I've seen old ones.
Really
that's
good.
a police thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's
historical offences.
Well.
It's a bit woke. It's all right.
I think I've watched a bit of that on Netflix, and I don't think I liked it. I think is that the one?
Okay.
Is one of the guys like really old or something in it?
No.
There's a woman in it.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've seen
the
it.
woman's in charge.
Nicola Walker.
It's Nicola Walker.
Sanjeev Bhaskar.
Oh yes, that's it. Yes, I know the one.
It's good. It's about historical.
But isn't it exactly the same as that show that?
It's about cold cases. Well, I like cold cases.
But it's like the other show that they used to do on the BBC like that. What was that called? The one with old Trevor
New
Eve.
Tricks.
No.
That was about cold cases.
Well, Trevor Eve, I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Waking the Dead.
Not Shoestring.
Waking the Dead.
Waking the Dead,
well,
yeah.
Waking the Dead was about sort of
it was about old... No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was about old... cold cases.
It was about old... It was supposed to be the TV critic.
Yeah, it's about someone that gets murdered and then a few years later...
Or some of them were a couple of hundred years older than they find them, you know. Anyway, that's enough about TV cop shows, I suppose.
But Jed Mercurio for...
Thumbs down from you.
For conning the nation into thinking that we've got an exciting series of Line of Duty, but delivering a load of old jargon-ridden, boring rubbish. I fell asleep halfway through.
So the bottom line...
I did wake up
you were up in the
morning.
But weren't you up in the morning doing a breakfast show?
Well, yes.
That's not surprising.
Somebody said that on Twitter. I said, I fell asleep in the middle. They said, well, you're up at 4:30. It's not surprising. But I did rewind and watch it again.
But isn't that the other weird thing? That part of the problem now is it's quite difficult to kind of arrange your life around a television show. Mostly we used to do that all the time, but now if I'm going on a Sunday night, actually, do you know what? I'm going to speak to somebody on the phone. Normally, I quite often talk to my sister on a Sunday night, or somebody else rings me, or I'm doing stuff with work, or I'm reading something. I don't want to stop what I'm doing just because somebody on television says, "Oh, there's a show on now," when I can watch it anytime. Because I'm not sure that I could sustain waiting a week for the next one either.
Well, this is the problem. This is the thing I've got with the Unforgotten now. It's because you've got to wait a week for it. Unlike binge watching a box set.
Go on a BritBox, you watch the whole.
Yeah, but you have to pay for that.
But
it's on the whole series.
Yeah, but you have to pay for BritBox.
Yeah, £5. You have to repay for BBC programmes that are on.
Right, that you've already paid for.
Any case,
That's why BritBox isn't working.
Right, no, I'm just going to give a shout out to the one on Netflix, which is really, really good.
The one.
The one.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah.
What's that?
It's written by my friend.
Why has this turned into now a TV show? It's a TV critique. I'll tell you what I saw actually since we're doing this. White House Farm, very good.
Oh, is that good? That Jeremy Bamber case.
Jeremy Bamber case, really good. Very well done. Very well done. Okay, now finally, we're still on the subject of the BBC, fun enough, because I'm going to nominate the BBC.
We knew you were doing that, so we seamlessly flowed into TV for you.
Exactly right. So the BBC, you might remember last week, were in trouble as usual for being smug, for being anti-British, and for being a little bit sort of, what I would regard as sixth formerish, when Nadia Munchetti and Charlie State, I have watched Charlie State now for many a year, and he is about as wooden as anyone I've ever seen in front of a camera.
He's the least famous man on television.
He's completely wooden, right?
He can walk anywhere.
And so the idea that he tries to make a joke is ridiculous. It is absolutely. It's like one of the sub-editors trying to make a joke.
Right, okay.
So they were interviewing Robert Jenrick, housing minister.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of obsession at the moment with
flags. Got to have flags. Lots of flags.
Now I've seen over the course of the last few days several interviews. Matt Hancock today appears in what looks like a very untidy-looking sort of box room with some stuff on shelves, some books, but a lot of papers and no flag. No flag, right? Old, what's her name? Mairead McGuinness, who's an EU commissioner, she appears on Andrew Marr's show with an EU flag behind her, which didn't look particularly big and was quite limp. You know, it didn't make me think anything of it. Andrew Marr said nothing at all. But when Robert Jenrick's flag looked what Charlie State thought was a bit small, he started making fun of it. And he said, "Oh, I think, Minister, that your flag is not regulation size." You know, and only at the BBC would anyone think that's funny. Right? Now, I don't particularly care.
It's just like a flag.
That he's making comments about. You know, I'm not one of those people who is described variously as a flag, you know, something or other on Twitter. I'm not. But I don't think it's the job of a BBC interviewer on a serious interview with a Minister of the Crown to make fun of the size of his flag. And then Nadia Munchetti, much to everybody else's chagrin, starts kind of giggling along like a schoolgirl, and then she makes some comment about, he's probably got a picture of the Queen as well. And people hate that. This is why, the reason I'm putting the BBC in for this is because people don't like it. And
the BBC, we're paying for it, aren't we? This is the problem.
One, we're paying their salaries, which are pretty handsome. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nadia Munchetti and Charlie State between them are not far off £500,000 a year, right? Together.
Oh, easily.
It might even be more.
No, absolutely.
They're not particularly good at their jobs. They're not particularly interesting. They don't present a show which is in any way particularly good. Instead, though, they think it's their place to kind of mock Britain. And unfortunately, I know people think that might be a bit harsh on them, but that's kind of what they were doing. They're sort of mocking things that an awful lot of ordinary people in this country hold very dear, which is the Queen, for one thing, and the flag. You know, and it's one thing to sort of have it, I don't know, if you're interviewing a comedian or if you're interviewing an actor, I just think it's a bit low rent, really.
A bit childish.
Do you know what I mean? And very childish.
And
also, the sniggering went on for quite a long time. And then, what happened afterwards was Nadia Munchetti went on to Twitter and started liking a lot of tweets which were anti-Britain, which were anti-Tory, which were anti-government. Now, she's supposedly, under the new rules of the BBC, not meant to do that.
Impartial.
Right? Apologise.
And so Charlie State, I think, used to be on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure he's left Twitter now as a result, because they just got it wrong. And instead of apologising properly, she did one of those apologies where you say, "I'm sorry if anybody was offended," which is not really an apology. You only say that when what you mean when you say that is that basically you people who are so uselessly stupid that you were offended by this should be ashamed of yourselves.
It fits into what Dawn was saying earlier, doesn't it? What this is about a contempt for people who voted Brexit, for people
and that's what I mean.
Patriotic, who actually like the flag and admire Her Majesty the Queen.
And it's actually not even.
It's
not even that, you know, those of us who were. I wasn't offended by it. I just thought it was out of kilter with what they should be doing. You know, I don't really worship the flag. You know, we had some fun with it at the end of last week, and we put a huge flag behind me just to go. You know, but people like that. And the point is, it's not something to have. Some people hold it very dear, and some people showed pictures on Twitter of coffins coming back draped in the flag. British servicemen having been killed abroad. That's what they do. They put the flag over their coffin and they go, "This is not really something to make fun of." And I know that's not what they were doing.
No.
But that's how people see it.
Also, you know, it's like Tim Davie, the new Director General, and the powers that be at the BBC. They're issuing these instructions. Right, our celebrities, our stars, our presenters, you are no longer allowed to tweet your personal political views. And so Nadia Munchetti goes right ahead, defies that, tweets her own views, makes it clear where she stands, and what does Tim Davie and the management do? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
And the next day they're back on.
Yeah, they obviously told her, "Oh, you better say sorry for that." So she put out that tweet saying,
and unlike those tweets.
That's all they did. So what is the point of this bold new direction that Tim Davie's supposed to be taking the BBC in if he's not going to have the courage of his convictions?
Exactly.
Take him off the air.
Yeah. Well, I would have said, I mean, I'm not interested. People will, "Oh, I thought you didn't like cancel culture." I'm not interested in cancelling anybody, but I think at the very least they should have gone, "Right, you know what, tomorrow you're not going to be on because we don't think that was a good idea, and you need to know that wasn't a good idea, and so we need to re-educate you as to what the British public expect from you."
But the thing is, Twitter is a weird thing. In Naga's defence slightly here, gents, it is a weird thing because, you know, you're scrolling through Twitter and you go, "Oh, that's funny, I like that," and then you think, "But I don't really agree with it." but it was funny.
Yeah, well, I'm quite careful about that, and so should she be.
So you've got to be very, very careful, especially if you're in a responsible position. No, I get that.
Like, same reason you have to check what the title of the Twitter account is.
Yeah.
Because that could be,
I always do, but it is easily done. That's funny. That made me laugh, and then you forget about it.
Well, it's not easily done when you're on my payroll, getting paid 6-figure salary. You should know better, darling.
I tried to give balance.
People like Naga Manchetti and Charlie State need to be Twitter literate. Your major media figures. You can't just sloppily go, yeah. And we know what she was doing. She wasn't doing that.
It's more virtue signalling.
She was supporting people who have contempt for the flag. Yeah. That clearly betrays the way
and who think people like us that work at Talk Radio are bigoted racists who love the flag. Yeah. That's all they've got. These are the kind of people she was defending, and I think that's wrong. So that's why I'm making the planks. BBC, you're lucky actually, Naga, that it's not you I've made a plank. I've made the BBC planks for not doing anything about it. So we have reached that point, ladies and gentlemen. We have the 9 nominees plus the usual carryover, Harry and Meghan. So I'm going to give you my 3. Who's going to choose? Who wants to choose them? Is it you? Is it your turn, Dawn, or is it
very probably?
Kevin's?
You have to remind me. I mean, the BBC I've got.
I can't remember. So the BBC, Lord Andrew Adonis,
sitting here forgetting him.
Kit Malthouse.
Oh, blimey!
It's a good list.
It's a good list, isn't it?
Yes.
I am probably. Oh, I don't know, Kev. What do you reckon, mate?
For me, I would.
I'm struggling with these 3. They're all very good.
Well, you're now conferring, which is not what we normally do on the Plank of the Week. But you're allowed to.
You keep telling me it's a team effort.
I like the BBC.
Do you? Okay. He likes the BBC.
Well, I dislike the BBC.
Oh, I'm going to go for Kit Malthouse then.
Okay then.
Why not?
So she was just asking you so she could go the other way.
Being contrary.
Well. Is that with an exclamation mark or not?
With several exclamation marks.
5. You're fired.
5, just to annoy you.
Okay, so you now tell Kevin what your 3 are.
Right, my 3, Kev. Be nice. I know it's hard. Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
Loughborough University. ..
And I'm with
Only
them all
3.
the way.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
It'd be great if you went up to the University of Loughborough and just spray painted an exclamation mark after every place they write University of Loughborough.
Someone will do it now.
And Labour MP Nadia Whittome.
Well, I think that because it's fun and because it was just a classic piece of ludicrous LA airheaded nonsensical stupidity, Orlando Bloom for his airhead life in the day.
I think that's I think
that's fair.
That's
everybody should read what he wrote.
I'm going to go.
Brilliant.
Well, I'm now going.
Probably didn't do it justice.
I'm now going to go and read that because it sounds amazing.
It's just hilarious.
I've got a printed copy.
It's like a spoof. I thought, is this a spoof?
I thought it was a spoof. I just thought it was like,
I read
like drop the dead donkey type thing. It's like.
I mean, I read the whole Prince William piece, right? So by the time I finished that, I didn't have any more time. I didn't have any more, data space in my head to read anything else. Right. So Kevin, you tell me your 3, and I'll choose one.
The first was Andy Marsh.
Yes.
The Bristol and Somerset Chief Constable for encouraging his officers to take the knee to Black Lives Matter and then moaning a year later when demonstrators don't respect the authority of the police. That was your fault, Andy. I'm trying to remember my second one.
You've got, I can tell you've got James Alexander.
Oh, yeah. And then,
QC.
My second is James Hamilton.
James Hamilton,
the QC hired to conduct a thoroughly independent inquiry that came to a very different conclusion about whether or not Nicola Sturgeon misled the Scottish Parliament.
Yes.
The Scottish Parliament decided she did. The QC she hired decided she didn't. So James Hamilton, for being the only person in the entire country who thinks Nicola Sturgeon did absolutely nothing wrong, and thirdly, Jed Mercury for the worst police drama, for a police drama called Line of Duty, a cop drama that isn't much cop.
Yes, absolutely.
Take the boy out the tabloid.
Listen, I reckon it's going to have to be Andy Marsh, because I think Bristol was the big story of the week.
It is. Yeah,
and I think there's no question that there is cause and effect going on there.
Yeah.
That if you let people do whatever they want,
and then bow to them.
And then bow to them and
scrape,
say,
kneel
oh no,
to them.
I think that was actually great what you did. I think that was brilliant. Well, breaking the law, yeah, absolutely, fantastic. Yeah, maybe you come back and do some more damage.
We like it so much,
You know.
we're going to kneel down before you.
Why don't you come to the police station and throw some bricks at
Yeah.
the windows? How about that? Oh, I tell you
Yeah.
what, set fire to a couple of
Torch
police
some
vans, why
officers.
don't you?
Excellent.
Because it'll be all right. We'll just
Why
let
don't
you
you
off.
get people to kneel down on Sunday night? Hey,
Yes.
Andy, that would have been good.
The
Yeah.
thing is, Bristol is doomed. It's got a chief police officer like that and a mayor.
People do
who
tell me as well
agrees.
that Bristol is a bit of always has been a bit of
Yeah,
an
no, it has.
alternative
St
city,
Paul's
hasn't it?
and all that,
yeah.
It's always been one of those places that's a bit kind of out there,
Yeah.
a bit hippy dippy,
Fiery,
Yeah, excellent.
Volatile.
Okay, so there we have it. The final three: Kit Malthouse, policing minister; Orlando Bloom, star of stage and screen, and canoes. Or is it
Paddleboard. It's a paddleboard. It's a very
Naked paddleboard.
big
the same thing?
paddleboard.
Same thing.
Gazing with his eyes.
One man's
Gazing
canoe.
with his eyes.
One man's canoe is another man's paddleboard. You know, you don't want to mess with a man's paddleboard. That's what they used to say. And Andy Marsh, Bristol Police Chief. So we have to whittle down those three to the winner.
Blimey.
That's quite difficult,
men
isn't it?
again, isn't it? Really.
It's actually
Can't do
quite an interesting one, this, because I don't think we've had it for a while to be this different,
that. No.
right? Because
no.
normally there's a kind of connection.
Yes.
This time there isn't.
I honestly think the story of the week, I mean, I know it's mine and all that, but...
There's no need to apologise.
I do think Andy Marsh really shines brightly for
I
me
think so.
in the plank of the week.
Yeah.
This is
I think, yeah, 'cause it is the
a
story.
woke chief constable reaping what he sowed.
I
It
think
is the story.
I would not argue with that.
Yeah.
I think Andy Marsh is number one.
Yeah.
I would go Orlando Bloom too, actually.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be in it much, is he?
No.
No.
Do you think
Give
we're
us a
going
bit
to be
of star,
accused of
star power. Yeah.
Star power, yeah, a bit of Orlando Bloom for number two, and then that leaves us with Kit Malthouse, the man that's infected half the Home Office with COVID.
The government's answer to typhoid
although
Mary.
actually, do you know what? It tells you how ludicrous the whole thing is, because actually, it turns out he's asymptomatic, right? So they don't know whether he's going to spread it, but they've had to deep clean the office. They've had to send a load of people home, and I bet you any money, none of them get it. So congratulations to the Bristol Police Chief, Andy Marsh. You have won this week's Plank of the Week. We'll see you next time.